because I think it was always dishonest when they always said they always one thing, because we saw they didn't. Super Lead 100 said Magnatone is Slash's side chick. Well, what's funny about the Slash thing is that it's becoming super common, and I think, I think, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I have a theory. I want to give you a theory, and I really would love to have you guys hear this theory, and then maybe you guys can mull it over and put in comments what you think of it. More so than ever before now, you have so many artists with multiple endorsements, and not just multiple like a pickup endorsement and then a guitar endorsement and then an amp endorsement, but like Slash, he's with Marshall, he's with Magnatone. You have Kirk Hammett, he's with Gibson, and he's with ESP, right? You have you have Tosin Abasi, he's got his own brand of guitars, and he's with Music Man for guitars, right? So you're seeing this a lot, okay? That they have these multiple like products, almost competing products, and they're layering up like that. And one, I think it's amazing, by the way. I think it's great because I've never believed, and like a lot of people, I've become butthurt many times, especially when I was younger, about like when musicians didn't use the gear that their name was on. It was almost like I took it personal because I bought it, and I was like, oh, I bought this guitar, and they're I bought a John Mayer Strat with a stripe, and I go to a concert and he doesn't even play that one. You're like, he's playing all these other ones. You're like, what's going on here, man? I bought this because of you, and now you're not using it, and it makes me feel bad. And you get upset, right? And the reality is that, they probably don't want to play the same thing all the time, even if it is the perfect guitar, the perfect amp. So I love that they're doing multiple products. I think it's actually really smart. Right? I think it's really cool. But I didn't tell you the theory. My theory is that the YouTubers and the influencer area started this. And so, everybody's going to have different perception, but I think of influencers as more social media types, and YouTubers are more of like content creation, like they make videos. I don't know why I think that. I just do. I think it's because when I think of influencers, I think of somebody like, doing a makeup tutorial and telling you to buy this makeup, not so much making content on a video, but who knows? I don't know. But this is the theory. The theory is that I had this interesting conversation once with a professional guitar player that obviously I'm not going to name because it's not important to the story, but and I never got permission for him to tell you this story. A company was trying to get a hold of me, okay? And as you guys know, it can get really difficult sometimes. I have a lot of stuff to do. I'm really like, I don't have, an assistant and all that stuff, right? I'm just a dude on YouTube in my bedroom, right? This is like, when you think of small business, this is as small as it gets, right? So anyways, company's trying to get a hold of me, not having any luck. And then ironically, in the weirdest way, happened to know that I knew this musician, and they asked him for a favor. He happened to mention, I guess, apparently, that he was going to meet up with me at an event. Everybody's like, Phil X. It's not any guitar player okay? So there you go. When I say famous, I shouldn't say famous. Just say, to me, he's an amazing musician. But anyways, here's the important part of the story. They asked him for the favor, which the favor was they give him a piece of gear, okay? And they say, will you bring this to Phil when you see him next week? Because I'm at an event, and he's going to be at this event with a bunch of artists and a bunch of YouTubers. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know how Phil would feel about that. And they're like, well, if you could do that for us, it'd be great. Because they're just trying to get this piece of gear in my hands. Okay. So I meet up with him, at the event, and he goes, hey, I have something for you in my car. We go to his car, and he hands me the piece of gear. And he's like, they just want me to hand it to you. He goes, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything about it. They just asked me to do this for you. And I said, oh, man, thanks. This is really great. He goes, yeah, I was talking to him like a year ago, and I guess it dropped off, and, the conversation dropped off. And I go, this is great. And I go, yeah, I'll email when I get back. And then, because we're friends, he asked me an interesting question. And this was the interesting question. He says, can I ask you, what do you have to do because they gave this to you? And I said, well, obviously they don't give it to you. We trade, right? Like I hate the term free gear. Like they give you a guitar for free. No, you trade for it, right? You trade your time, you trade your videos, you trade whatever you're trading, right? It's a trade. It's a trade of some sort. Trades of goods or services, which is why you need to put that, the product was provided to you because you need to let people know that, hey, they're giving me this not because they think it's not my rich uncle just giving me a present. It's in exchange for something, and obviously content or something to put in front of you guys. And I said, oh, I have to make a video. And he goes, and then what? And I go, well, then I'm done with it. And he goes, what do you do with it? I go, well, sometimes I keep it, and sometimes you sell it off if it's sitting around. Sometimes it sits in a closet. I don't know. I go, it depends on the deal. I go, in this particular case, they're obviously not asking for it back. And he says, well, when a company gives me a piece of gear, I can only use that piece of gear and no other piece of gear. And I go, uh-huh. And he goes, so next week, you're going to use a different piece of gear? And I'm like, yeah, because I got to make a different video. And he's like, so they're going to give you this thing for one time? Like me, I'm on stage 300 times a year, and I have to have this thing with me every time, but you only have to do it one time? It means you, meaning YouTube channels. And I said, and so you understand, the reason I'm telling the story is, one, because I think that's the importance of this podcast, is insight into the world of whatever I'm doing, or this world of gear and music and YouTubers maybe sometimes, and musicians. But the important part of this story was, he's not confused about me. I'm just as confused about him. I'm like, I don't know. You mean you have to play this thing all the time? What happens if you want to play something else? And he goes, you can't. I go, what do you mean you can't? And he goes, I can't. I got to play this or else. He goes, if I play somebody else's thing, they'll call me up. It won't be pretty. And I'm like, so I wonder now sometimes if the musician side has now experienced that apparently maybe the social media side doesn't work the same. I don't know. And that's why I said it's a theory. I have nothing, but I thought I'd present it to you guys because it's funny to me that these kind of deals, although did happen before social media, seem to be more prevalent now. And I think it's because I would imagine if I was a musician, especially like Slash, I was playing an amp line, and you're like, why am I locked to one thing? Why can't I have different things, right? Not me, but some famous person on YouTube, they're doing 10 different things. So why can't I do 10 different things? So it might be a thing now. We might see more of it, is basically what I'm saying. So, and I think it's for the good part, because I think it was always dishonest when they always said they always one thing, because we saw they didn't. We always knew that. All of us knew that. I'd rather see them be more open and honest and not worry about, because that musician's not the only musician to tell me that essentially there's a punishment if they don't use the product in the face of the audience all the time. And to me, I'm like, I don't care about that. I don't care if they use 10 different things. If you enjoyed this podcast clip, you can watch the entire episode by clicking the link in the description or streaming it on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. You can also join it live every week, Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I hope to see you there. Until next time, know your gear.